Here we go again. Hello people of the interwebs and surrounding universes. It's your host here, Emily B, back with another video. Today we are going to be talking about yet another copycat Rachel Dolezal. This is Jessica Krug, and she is a professor at George Washington University. She teaches classes along the lines of African American studies, colonialism. Now there is no issue with a white person being interested in African American studies and even being highly knowledgeable on African American studies. But little Miss Jessica was claiming to be Afro-Latina, not white. She's now had a change of heart and decided to release an article on the Medium website. So today we're going to be reading through some of the pieces of the article that I found most interesting and discussing how this situation just gets more messy as it goes on. So if you're interested in seeing the copycat Rachel Dolezal try to cancel herself, then keep on watching. The article is titled, "The Truth and the Anti-Black Violence of My Lies." For the better part of my adult life, every move I've made, every relationship I've formed has been rooted in the napalm toxic soil of lies. Not just any lies. To an escalating degree over my adult life, I have eschewed my lived experience as a white Jewish child in suburban Kansas City under various assumed identities within a blackness that I had no right to claim. First, North African blackness, then US-rooted blackness, then Caribbean-rooted Bronx blackness. I have not only claimed these identities as my own when I had absolutely no right to do so, when doing so is the very epitome of violence, of thievery and appropriation, of the myriad ways in which non-black people continue to use and abuse black identities and cultures. But I have formed intimate relationships with loving, compassionate people who have trusted and cared for me when I have deserved neither trust nor caring. People have fought together with me and have fought for me. And my continued appropriation of a Black Caribbean identity is not only, in the starkest terms, wrong, unethical, immoral, anti-Black, colonial, but it means that every step I've taken has gaslighted those who I love. I've thought about ending these lies many times over many years, but my cowardice was always more powerful than my ethics. I know right from wrong. I know history. I know power. I am a coward. I am a coward. There is no ignorance, no innocence, nothing to claim, nothing to defend. I have moved wrong in every way for years. I believe in restorative justice, where possible, even when and where I don't know what that means or how it could work. I believe in accountability, and I believe in cancel culture as a necessary and righteous tool for those with less structural power to wield against those with more power. I should absolutely be canceled. No. I don't write in a passive voice, ever, because I believe we must name power. So you should absolutely cancel me. And I absolutely cancel myself. What does that mean? I don't know. Accountability works only when you are in a community with people. How can I be in any type of meaningful community with those who I have so harmfully and horrifically deceived for so long? No white person, no non-black person has the right to claim proximity to or belonging in a black community by virtue of abuse, trauma, non-acceptance, and non-belonging in a white community. The abuse within and alienation from my birth family and society are no one's burden but my own, and mine alone to address. Black people in black communities have no obligation to harbor the refuse of non-black societies. I have done this. I know it is wrong, and I have done this anyway. I have not lived a double life. There is no parallel form of my adulthood connected to white people or a white community or an alternative white identity. I have lived this lie fully, completely, with no exit plan or strategy. I have built only this life, a life within which I have operated with a radical sense of ethics, of right and wrong, and with rage, rooted in black power, an ideology which every person should support, but to which I have no possible claim as my own. There is no way for me to satisfactorily end this statement. This isn't a confession, it isn't a public relations move, and it damn sure isn't a shield. It is the truth though. And side note, if you want to read this article, I do not suggest clicking on the Medium article like I did. I did that before I even knew that it was monetized, but there are screenshots of the entire article on Twitter. So just type in her name, Jessica Krug, and you can find screenshots of the entire article without having to put money in her pocket whatsoever. First, I know she's a professor, I know she's a scholar of sorts, but the way she went about writing this article seemed very holier than thou. It seemed way too woke for what she was explaining. Really, the way she went about it was to create more of a poetic sense to the entire article, which I believe was completely unnecessary. She says at the end that she's not apologizing, it's not a public relations move, yada yada yada. But she can't say that that's not what it is. You're coming clean publicly to every single person that you've deceived. And it actually has come forward that she has personally called and contacted a lot of the people that she was close with to let them know what the truth is, that she's not African American or Afro-Puerto Rican or whatever she was claiming to be. So yes, this was an apology. Second, she says it's not a public relations stunt. She knows that once this comes out, she's probably going to lose her job. And I feel like the way she's going about this article is denouncing herself, canceling herself, so that she may have the opportunity to redeem herself in the future. She avidly corrected anyone who assumed that she was white. She took every single opportunity to progress this lie further and further. So she fully intended to continue living her life as a Black woman until for some reason she either had a change of heart or was about to be found out. And I'm believing that it's probably the latter. Most people who go to that extent to lie about their entire identity don't want to be found out. And they aren't going to intentionally cancel themselves before anybody tries to do it for them. So what I'm thinking is probably somebody in her community, one of her colleagues maybe, knew the truth and was going to expose her, and she proactively made this article and started individually apologizing to people to save her ass. So I do believe that this was a public relations stunt, because how else would she possibly be able to save herself from getting ruined completely from this without first making a statement to explain herself? If you're familiar with the Rachel Dolezal situation, she was the leader of the NAACP branch in her area. She was a Black activist. She taught classes on African American studies. It was very, very similar to this situation. And after the world found out that she was not Black and she had been pretending to be Black the entire time to take positions intended for Black people, people weren't happy. Nobody wanted to hire her. I am for certain that this Jessica lady has to be aware that her career is pretty much over. She's lived her entire personal identity as a Black woman, and let alone her personal identity, her career identity as well. So everything she does is rooted in this idea that she is a Black woman. And now that she's coming out and saying and admitting that she's not a Black woman, that she's actually a white woman of Jewish descent from Kansas, everything around her is going to crumble. So I truly think that she was creating this article to try to somehow mend the issues that she had created, so that in the future she may be able to reference that and say, hey, I apologized for this before it ever became a media scandal. So you guys should hire me because I'm a changed woman and I'm living like a white person now. She does reference that she created this new identity as an Afro-Puerto Rican woman because of her childhood trauma, which I guess is pretty common. People try to create a whole new story for themselves when their story isn't satisfactory and causes them pain. So I feel sorry for her that she feels dejected by her white identity, that she felt like she couldn't identify with who she really was. That by no means in any way excuses the fact that she masqueraded as a Black woman and, most importantly, took positions from Black people. That's the part that really pisses me off. There are countless actual Black women doing the same type of work she is that don't get the credit that she did. Now that we read through her article, I am going to read a response from one of her former colleagues that is on Twitter. So this woman's name is Yaramar Bonilla, and I'm apologizing in advance because I'm sure I did not pronounce that correctly. But she says, many are asking themselves how #Jessica Krug managed to fool anyone into believing she was Afro-Latina. Well, let me tell you, we were both fellows at the Schomburg, and I suppose she fooled me. I mean, I don't feel hurt or betrayed in this moment because the truth is I always knew something was off with her. but I thought the pathologies she displayed were the product of systemic violence and not her twisted racial fantasies. See, not only did she try to pass, we need a better term here, masquerade, as a Latina from El Barrio, but she also told us her parents were addicts and even said that there were overdoses and suicide attempts happening during the fellowship period. She not only said to people, I'm Afro-Latina. She not only said that, that's one thing, that's one level, but she went on to spin an entire story about how her parents were addicts and had tried to attempt suicide and overdoses during her fellowship period. And she openly talked about that to further advance her woe is me story that she came from rags to riches. And that is really disgusting because there's actual scholars that probably have a similar story to her that don't have that same spot that she did because of people like her taking spaces. She always dressed/acted inappropriately. She'd show up to a 10 a.m. scholars seminar dressed for a salsa club, etc., but was so over the top, strident, and woker than thou that I felt like I was trafficking in respectability politics when I cringed at her minstrel show. In that sense, she did gaslight us, not only into thinking she was a woman of color, but also into thinking we were somehow both politically and intellectually inferior. While claiming to be a child of addicts from the hood, she boasted about speaking numerous languages, reading ancient texts, and mastering disciplinary methods, while questioning the work of real women of color doing transformative, interdisciplinary work that she panned. She constantly trashed women of color and questioned their scholarship. She even described my colleague Marissa Fuentes as a slave catcher in the introduction to her book. Kind of amazing how white supremacy means she even thought she was better at being a person of color than we were. That pathology remains evident in her Mea Culpa article. Somehow, she manages to remain ultra woke and strident, still on her political moral high horse, calling for white scholars to be canceled, in this instance, her own white self. She says she doesn't know what accountability looks like. Well, clearly, she needs to quit her job. A job that, if I am not mistaken, was a diversity hire. Since no scholar can be respected when they engage in this kind of fraud. Second, she needs to start a fellowship fund for Afro-Latina scholars and fund it with at least as much money as she obtained through her lies. Third, she needs to stop with the Dolezal splaining about how wrong her actions and philosophizing about her punishment. I'm not investing a single drop of energy into punishing her, especially not in the middle of a pandemic. Instead, I will recommit to radical self and community care. #bye. Whew! She went off, and I appreciate it because this is only one of multiple stories that you can find on Twitter of people who were friends and colleagues with her saying that they had suspicions that she was lying, but she didn't give them any space to question her because she tried to make them feel inferior for questioning her blackness and her Latina identity, apparently. What makes both her case and Rachel Dolezal's case disgusting, they took places of power from actual women of color, from actual people of color, from actual black people. They took spaces from people who truly would have benefited that community as themselves. But instead, she built that lie and lived her entire adulthood under this guise of a lie. Took awards from people of color who probably would have gotten it otherwise. Took publishing positions from people who probably would have gotten it otherwise. You can be knowledgeable, you can be an advocate for the black community without pretending to be black or masquerading as a black person. There's no way to punish this behavior, and there's no way to explain it away because it happened, it's there, and there's no way that they can retract that. I do agree with what this woman said. I think that she should give all of the money that she's earned through all of these lies to start a scholarship fund. I do believe that she should quit her job, but I'm thinking that George Washington University is probably going to fire her before she gets the chance to step down. And I do believe in redemption. I do think everybody deserves a second chance. I think she needs to take up her true identity, which is as a white person, and learn how to interact in day-to-day life as a white person. I don't think she needs to be anywhere near a collegiate environment whatsoever, because although she is knowledgeable on the subjects, she is not fit to teach those anymore because she actively disrespected black people even though she claims to be an expert on African American studies. She disrespected them at the deepest chorus level by pretending to be them, wearing their culture as a costume. And I am not some cancel cop. I am not walking around ready to boo-boo shoot somebody down because they make a mistake. But this is just repulsive. It's absolutely bonkers. I do hope that she begins to live like a white woman and gives all of the money that she's earned from pretending to be a black woman. I hope she gives that to actual black people and black students who could benefit from it. Because really, I feel like that's the only way that she can make something good out of all the crap that she created. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it a lot. If you want to see more content like this from me on a regular basis, then go ahead and subscribe, join the party, and turn on post notifications so that you can be notified every time I post. And be sure to hit that like button because we're trying to beat the bots in this house. Anyways, guys, that is it for me today. I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, guys, much love.